Oish Gimel. This is also the same thing is with regards to the bracha before doing the mitzvahs. Just like we said before that the Eisek HaTorah needs to be, is the Hamshocha through learning Torah and needs to be with Bittul. So the same thing is with the brachas. That's Torah. The same thing is by mitzvahs. You also bring down the light of Hashem in order to be able to have the aliyah. So the same thing is the bracha. Shaliyah is shalifnei mitzvahs, to do before the mitzvahs. That in order, what do we say? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. What does that mean? So it means that we're making a bracha. That's the way we approach the davening is by making the bracha. And what is this? This includes two parts to it. It includes the Elokeinu melech haolam, that we internalize, that we bring down the Shekhinah, that we bring down Lamata. Shemitchila, to begin with, first we bring down the light of the Blessed Ein Sof in the heart. Havaya becomes Elokeinu, means it's drawn down to us. Shalonu mashma. Elokeinu means our God, our God. So how do we make first God our God and we bring him down to ourselves? Is when we do b'chol levavcha, that's how we bring down, we make Elokeinu, that should be Hamshachas Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So even though he says that midchila we start Hamshachas Ein Sof Baruch Hu, but we have to bring down that Hamshachas Ein Sof Baruch Hu through b'chol levavcha. It comes down, which means sheyiyeh gilu elikus bebeis chadod lehalev. We want there should be the revelation of godliness in the two ventricles of the heart. Now, we have two parts in our heart. One part is full with blood, and that's the Gashmias. And then we have another one which is full with air, which is Simcha, which is a process of first having the level of merirus, of bitterness, because of our involvement in the Gashmias, that's the left ventricle. And then we rejoice in the mitzvahs of Hashem. By a tzaddik it works different. Let's look inside. But these are the two ventricles. The hainu, that is, chol al hasmoli molidam b'chinas gevureis umriris. That is full with dam, meaning that it's full with blood, with strictness and bitterness. What does it mean? What is the bitterness? It says, this is from our days, the 70 years we have on the life. So what is he bitter about his life? That all our yearning, all our desires is binyani gashmi. We're all involved in physical matters. Beparnosa, in our livelihood. And to leave for his children afterwards. So he's trying to involve in Gashmi so that he has enough and then to leave for his children. Is it for this that the neshama came down? So this will cause him when he's going to reflect on this, his heart is going to be very bitter. That's one ventricle that you are going to bring down Elokeinu. Then you have the right ventricle, then you have the right ventricle. That's Mole Ruach Chaim. That's filled with a spirit of life, which is what? That's a rejoicing of the soul. Through the mitzvah Hashem, Shem Ritzon Yisborach, which is Hashem's will, Shenislabish Ba'asiyah. Hashem's will has dressed up in doing the mitzvah. So he's rejoicing in being able to do the will of Hashem. And on this, the Chol Haimoni, it says, Yismach Yisrael be'osav, that Yisrael, the Yidden, are rejoicing with their making with Hashem. And this is the two ventricles as they are by the Benin. But V'heim, Hagormim liyis k'moikein gam b'tzadikim. And these two ventricles also cause to be likewise by tzadikim. But by tzadikim, it's not Gashmis, the Meriras from Gashmis. It's in another direction, another way. There is no ra there at all. So there's no so much involvement in the Yonim Gashmin. So from there cannot be a physical bitterness because there is no involvement so much. There is no ra at all. That left shows on the level of the fear and the dread and the fear from Hashem's beauty of His greatness. That's the level of yira. That's the level of left. That's the level of pachad from the left ventricle. So then the level, the simcha comes, the level of love of the lights. So it's also the two ventricles, but it's a little bit different. This is by a tzaddik and a much higher madrega than by the men. So Vizel Havaya Likutei. So this is Havaya becomes our God. That in the through B'chol Levavcha, through both parts of the heart. And then it's Nimshach, a king of the world. It's not Olamoi, but it's a Chitzonis, it's not like a Likeinu becomes the Pnimis, but it's a Machshach, Chitzonis, Olam. It's an extension in the externality of the world. Hashem Melech Shemoy Nikra Aleim, the Melech, his name is called upon them. So now, now it will be understood. Now we understand the idea why the neshama came down to the body, which is for the purpose of an elevation. He said before, we come from such a high madrega. How are we being elevated through going down in the Gashmis? Although we say neshamas went up to the level of machshava, so that means harein mshachim b'bchinas oisius hamachshava. So that means that we come from the level of the letters of machshava. That's where, so to speak, Hashem's machshava, from those oisius, that's where the neshamas come from. But what happens vayidei yiridosom, the guf, when they descend into the body, ubitla yesh la'ayin, and they subjugate the yesh to ayin, that becomes al yidei, we say birchas hedjit. We say the bracha comes through the hedjit, through the iskafia chulas we brought down earlier. So over there, mamshichim bechinas gilu mimalu kol alma v'sevu kol alma. Then they bring down the level in a revelation of both mimalu sevu kol alma, bala machshava, not the letters of the machshava, but the master of the machshava, which is a higher level than the machshava. So the yerida is from the level of Oishis and Machshava, but Aliyah is to the Bala Machshava, to the master of the Machshava. V'ayim b'parshas v'yeshev b'divra maschel ke'omar v'nusati l'cho malch. V'hainu al yidei iskafi v'yishabcha. And that's through iskafi v'yishabcha we reach the higher level. So he asked before, why did Hashem create the klippas so that we have to subdue the klippas? Like the midbar, we had the klippas, the chitzonim, and then they traveled to subdue it. Why did Hashem need to do that, not create the klippas and won't need to subdue them? But now we learn that through the subduing the klippas, you reach it to a higher level. That's the purpose. That is the reason. Ashabara Hashem as a klippus. That's why Hashem created the klippus. Bichdei lasis ulusakid. In order to fix, to do, and to fix. That way there will be that great elevation. So this is the pasuk. These are the journeys of Bnei Yisrael. So what we're talking about is pirush aliyoson b'mata l'mayla. This is how we journey from below to above. Omar, that brings the great elevation to the highest level. So now he says, "Vayichtav Moshe's Matzeim leMaseim." So he wrote. Yes, before Moshe Rabbeinu wrote all the Torah. Why does it say over here Moshe Rabbeinu wrote Matzeim leMaseim, and also the changes from Matzeim leMaseim, Maseim leMaseim? He's going to explain that. So V'inyan Vayichtav, what does it mean? Moshe wrote. Moshe's writing means Moshe sealed it. He brought it down. Moshe Rabbeinu is the support, because the Malcolm. So the Hamshachas that come from Milmailo, Moshe Rabbeinu sort of seals it by writing it down. You make a contract. And when you make a contract, it can be changed. Moshe Rabbeinu takes that Hamshacha and seals it, makes it final. The sages tell us, what is Hashem's seal? Hashem's seal is emes. Emes is the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe Rabbeinu is Chochmah, and Chochmah is emes. When you see something with Chochmah, that becomes your truth. Pirush, ka Chochmah nikra emes. Chochmah is called emes. Because when you understand something, you're understanding azay yideya. Then you know that is the way it is, and that's the truth. So therefore, Chochmah is truth. That is your truth. Why do we call this Choisam, the truth, the Choisam? The Nikras Choisam, why is it called the seal? Al derech moshul, HaChoisam, similar to one who signs Shu Shem HaOdom HaNichta B'dyei Gashmel Anan. That is, what is it? Your sign, your name, with ink, physical ink on the paper. So you put your name on there. So your name is not you, that's only expression, but you put your name on paper. So basically, the name, meaning Hashem, metaphorically, Hashem's name comes down on paper. Hashem be'etzem, the name, in essence, has really no relationship, no comparison to the essence of the master of the name. The coach came with Kavachimer, and for sure, that's even the name the way you have it in a spiritual level, just to call the person by his name. But much more so, for sure, if you're just writing down the name on with ink, it's only a physical doing, so it's not at all in the category of the master of the name. So when we talk about Chochmah, we talk about emes, we talk about Chochmah. That's only a physical doing. When Hashem puts down into the level of Chochmah, it's like Asiyah Gashmi. The pasuk says Kulam b'Chochmah Osiso. So it's the level of Chochmah is Osiso. That to make Chochmah is like level of Asiyah. And Harotzein, the Rotzein, he hanikra Shem. That's the name. Hashem's will, that's called Shem, because the word Shmoi 346 is the gematria of Rotzen. The Rotzen is 346. So Hashem's Rotzen, Hashem's name is put on the paper. That's Chochmah, that's the Gashmis. The Chochmah is the physical, and putting down the name, the Rotzen on the name, that is Shubechinas Asiyah Chochmah Choisem Shubechinas Asiyah Shel Hashem. That's the doing, the making, the b'chokhma sisa of the rotzen. So it seems like it's very distant from the Baal Harotzin. It's only a chokhmah, it's only a name, and it's only coming down in a physical way, relatively speaking. But yet, it obligates the master also, even though it's just a Siyah Gashmis, it obligates the master. So therefore, nevertheless, just as physically, if you sign it, that is sustaining. Everything that you obligate yourself, you will do. Once you sign, you can't change it anymore. You've signed it. Like when we do Ne'ilah, over there we change. The whole time we say, write us down, okay? All writing. When it comes to Ne'ilah, over there we say, seal us. That's already no more changes. Seal us in this book of life and book of Parnasa. And now it can no longer be changed. So Cain, Bechinas, Eisof Baruch Hu Shel Maila Ma'Chochma. Likewise, the Eisof Baruch Hu, which is higher than the Chochma, Sheiresh U'Mislavish B'Chochma, it rests and it dresses up in Chochma. And who does that? That does Moshe Rabbeinu. V'Zohu Vayichtov Moshe. This is why Moshe. Moshe writes this down. Ki Moshe hu Shushvina de Malka. Moshe is the Shushvin, the support for the king. But Aaron is Shushvina de Matronisa. He is the support for the queen. That's for the Jewish people. The queen brings Aaron brings the Jewish people up to Hashem. Moshe brings down Hashem to the people. So Aaron becomes the support of the Matronisa. Hamayla Oisa El HaChosed, that brings her up to the Chosed. The Eibishter is the Chosed, we are the Kala, and he brings it up to the Chosed. Ki Aaron Hoya Meinif Halavi. Aaron is the one that raises the Levi. V'chein Klolus Neshamas Yisrael. He raised the Leviim when they needed to be raised over there in the process of making them holy. So it says that Aaron raised them. And also Aaron raises all Yidden, not only the Leviim. It says, when you raise the Neiros. Who are these Neiros? That's the souls, Jewish soul, because Nishmas Adam, Kruya, Neir. The person's soul is called Neir Hashem. That is the Neir of Hashem. So Aaron lifts us. Moshe Rabbeinu is the support of the queen of the Chosen, and Aaron is the support for the Matronisa, for the Kala. So where does Aaron raise them to? Ad Elmu Pnei. He raises them till the Pnei. Moshe hu Shushvina de Malka. Moshe is the Shushvina de Malka. So he Himshich Ein Sof Baruch Hu Milmayla Mata. He brings down the Ein Sof from above to below. It's by example, Moshe L'Melech, She'eh Ba'atzmei Darkei Lelech. The king doesn't go there by himself. So you bring him over there. So Moshe Rabbeinu brings down the king to that place. Kach. Moshe Hamanig, Moshe is the leader, Hamshochas of his Galus Elikus of Elomus, to draw down and to reveal the godliness of the world. Shushvina de Malka. The Loching Siva Yichtov Moshe. And that's why it says Moshe wrote the Fishu B'chinas Chochma. Moshe's level of Chochma. It says Vayar Reishis Loi. The beginning, the level of Chochma is Loi, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. So therefore, he is the one that Kosav Chisom Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wrote the seal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's emes. So who Gilui Ein Sof Shel Chochma. You have to write it down. That's a revelation of Chochma. The Himshich Zel Lemato. And then he brought this down below. So that they should later have the power, the koyach, to go up to Hashem from below to above. They themselves could not go up, as we say, because if Hashem doesn't help, he says a person cannot win the Yetzer Hara. So in other words, you cannot elevate unless you have the support of Hashem. That comes milmaylo. This is just like the idea of the blessing of the mitzvah. That is bringing down from above that level of koyach so that later on you can elevate it. Like we said before, when we said Al Tikra Ma, Mo Hashem Elokecha Shoyel Mi'imach, he quoted from the Gemara, don't call it Ma, Elo Meya, that the level of bittul, of Ma, comes through Meya, that comes through the 100 brachas. Idea Meya brachas, that through the 100 brachas, bringing in the Aleph, the Peled, the Keser, into the person is Nimshach Koyach Li, it's Bechinas Ma'u Bittul. That's the way you have the power to have the Bechinas Ma'u Bittul. So that's why we need Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayichtav Moshe, so that they can have the elevation, just like what the bracha accomplishes. The Ayin, the Pri Etz Chaim, Shara Bracha Shom, over there it says that the Gabe Haloah, Shal Yidei, Bichas HaMitzvah, Sugam Kin Al Yidei, Shemab. It's also to the Shemab. So you see that it was the 42 Masois that brings about that level of the bittul. That's the Aliyah. So so that's also to the 42 journeys. So Moshe Rabbeinu writes down, in order to have the 42 journeys, in order to have this elevation, in order to have the bittul yesh, Moshe will be down. That's bringing down the Surus Leila. That's the way we're going to have the elevation. So this was in the desert. The same thing is now. We bring it down when we learn Torah through Akapesh Torah. The Pasuk says, the Torah gives us light that brings down the Amshocha. That shines in the soul of man in a way of a rise from below above. So that the soul has the power to go up through the light of Torah. You will have the koyach. Al posik b'eschanon. The posik b'eschanon. Ba'ayin. The parshas that Tzaveh b'divra maschil v'sisa tzitz achulu petuch v'choyson. V'lachein Amr Azal, and that's why our sages of blessed memory tell us b'psichta the bed sheikha. So the pasuk says v'oisi ozavu, they relinquished, they let go of Hashem, v'esterosi lo shomaru, and they didn't keep my Torah. So the order seems a little bit out of place over here. If they left Hashem, so their Bechlal went away from Hashem. So why does he say? First he says they left Hashem and they didn't keep my Torah. You know, it's like, so you're saying like something bigger after smaller. Saying, oh, you know what, you didn't pay back your $1,000, and then they're saying, oh, and you also didn't, pay back the $10. So, who's talking about it for sure? That comes. You should reverse it. You should say that, okay, you never pay the 10. But in this case, the darshans, and he says, no, Hashem says, you know what? If you let off of me, it's okay. I wish you did that. At least you would keep the Torah. Because even if you left Hashem, but you still learn Torah, the luminary, which is in Torah, would bring you back to the good. So you should still learn Torah. Basically, why? Because Torah has that Torah oir, that nefesh elikis, which shines in through it. So in Etchila Omar, now he's going to explain the change of language in the pasuk. First, it says Vayichtov moitzaeim lemaseihem. He wrote down. He gave the koyach. Moitzaeim means where they come from to their journeys. Hain moitzaeim, hain mekor neshamas Yisrael. That's the source of the Moitzaim, where they come from. Like a channel of water, an exit of water. Water comes, whose water never stop. So Moitza means the source of the water. It's a source of water that doesn't stop. It means a continuous flow. So that's the source of Yid Magla. That's higher than machshava, because we say they went to machshava. The essence of the neshamas Yisrael went up over there. But their source and the root is actually higher. The level of the master of the thought, the master of the will, meaning higher. And from there, from the Moitza Ehem, all the ways from where they come from their source, he wrote that down, so lemas Ehem, so that they should have the power, so they should have the strength to go up from below to above. V'zeu lemasei, it means to their journeys. That it means to the halal from above. Api havaya. And then it said, al pi havaya. So it teaches al pi havaya. Pirush aliyah u'lemayla mebchinas pi havaya. It's beyond Pi Havaya. Shuhu memalukul almin. Pi Havaya, that's memalukul almin. Beruch piv kol tzvom. This was al Pi Havaya in higher level. Be'achar kach. And then he changes it and he says ve'elam mas'eyam l'motzeileim. Because he's talking already about the return. When you go, the journey, this is aliyah ad motzeileim. So you start with the journey until you reach the Matal Lamaila.